Good afternoon, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Just trying to see who's hopping on right real quick. So, welcome to the Because It's Necessary Health and Wellness Forum Holiday Edition, according to CG Part 1.
Hey.
So, we're excited to be here on tonight, and we're going to be talking about the holiday blues. We'll be dealing with some serious issues. So you all just tune in. Please let us know where you're coming from. But I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to Tyra so we can go ahead and get started. Is that okay, Miss Tyra?
Sure, of course. How y'all doing on this evening? I hope y'all had a wonderful day on this day. And we are so grateful to have y'all with us on this evening so that we can talk about um, the winter blues. Because I know y'all feeling it, the cold weather coming in and the sunshine is still coming out. Thank God for that. We need some vitamin D. But in the but even though the sun is coming out, it still be some people that do have winter blues. When certain time of the season, you're feeling down, you're feeling low, you're feeling lonely. So we wanted to come in and do a session about what to do when you have these issues during this season. Especially before the holidays because everybody don't enjoy the holidays like that. You know what I'm saying? Well, some people be decorating in October. Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm talking about. Some people be decorating in October. Not to say there's anything wrong with that because it's not. That means that they're in a good spirit, but everybody is not in good spirits. Before the holidays. So we want to come in and just talk about that tonight. But I do want to say this that be mindful of people when they are, you know, not in good spirits before the holidays. Don't be so quick to judge them and be so biased against them because, some people do have seasonal depression and some people do have um, some things that they're dealing with before the holidays, especially if they lost somebody throughout the year. And then we're running into holidays, and that's usually a time that you have family gatherings. So instead of judging them and being biased, I want you to just listen to them. Just ask them a question. Is there anything I can do for you? Don't be so quick to say, it's gonna be all right, or you need to get over it, or come on, let's go do this, or let's go do that. Instead of telling them what to do, ask them the question. What can I do, for you at this time of your life, so that I can, make sure that a need is being met. All right. So of course, my topic is anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many of y'all get anxious before the holidays or during the holidays, especially with folks, especially with family, um, especially with coworkers when they want to bring a great dish to the potluck, and
Yeah.
they may say, "Well, you bring this, you bring that." You may not be in the mood to cook. You may not be in the mood to go out there and buy some donuts from the store. I'm just saying, you could be anxious around these times, during the holidays. And hey, it's normal. It's normal. It's not like something wrong with you. A little anxious is good, but being completely anxious a lot of time, all the time, or 24/7, that's not good.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to talk about how family members and coworkers and people can make you anxious during these times. But I do want y'all to know that it's okay to be a little anxious. So I find this coming. So I want to give y'all some signs of what the anxiety looks like. Because some people do feel anxious and anxiety, in the body, in the mind, um, you know. with their hands and their feet, where you're fidgeting, you're shaking, you are feeling like something is boiling in your stomach, or you may feel tight in your back. It is a symptom of anxiety. And some people do have shortness of breath because some anxiety can lead to panic attacks. But when you're feeling anxious, remember I said feeling anxious. Okay, we talk about feeling anxious because some people be also thinking anxious. Some people can have anxious thoughts where you're constantly overthinking, always, thinking about tomorrow or thinking about the holidays or thinking about what you're going to do next or thinking about what the family thinking or what people are thinking. So you can have anxious thoughts as well. But in order to feel anxious, I do want y'all to be mindful that you're going to think anxious first. So be mindful of the thoughts that you're having as you are feeling anxious because that also goes into how you deal with it emotionally and mentally. If you're anxious, I want you to think about it mentally because in order for you to feel anxious, you do have to think it first. Okay, because that's how that works. It don't just be because an event happened. Yes, event does happen and things situation does come up where it does make us anxious, but it's your perception of the event or situation that making you anxious.
Mhm.
So that's why I say perception is really in your mind. So it's what you think of the situation that can make you anxious. So for example, if your family members make you anxious, you know that you probably go to their house for Thanksgiving. That event already can make you anxious before you even get there. Because you're thinking about your family members, you're thinking about how things gonna go down, you're thinking about what type of questions they probably gonna be asking. Are you married yet? How come you ain't got no man? How come you ain't got no woman? You know, certain things can make you anxious when you get around family members because you're thinking about the situations in your head before you even get to the gathering. So that's why I say be mindful of what you're thinking about. Hey, if those thoughts do pop up in your head, just go ahead on and reframe your thoughts and just be thinking about, okay, if they do ask me these questions, how can I answer them?
Mhm.
How should I answer them? What should I say to them so they can leave me the heck alone? You know what I'm saying? Whatever you want to, because you really don't want to be stressed. You really the holidays supposed to be a event where you're really enjoying yourself, enjoying your family members. But family members can make a situation like that very uncomfortable. So instead of thinking about all these things that can transpire, why don't you think about how you can respond, how you can react, you know? And then too, who decide you gotta go over there? But that's me.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
you can sit in the dish without going. You can, yeah. Okay.
But people love family, Candace. People love
Oh,
family. We supposed to get together. We obligated to go. Really?
No, you're not. You're not obligated to go.
no.
Not if it's going to interfere with your peace of mind and your
Exactly.
boundaries for your life. You're not obligated to go.
That is so true.
Especially if this has been an ongoing thing for over the years, where um some people have been expecting you to be at a certain stature or a certain standard in life,
Mhm.
and you may not have met that standard as of yet, and so it'll cause the family members to, number one, just talk to you in a different way, but number two, cast those perceptions of you because you haven't met that standard, or better yet, should I say, met their version of what your standard
Exactly.
is.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
Yeah.
so,
I agree.
no need to do that at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when it gets to the point that the no is just a complete no, like that's it. I'm not going. period. Like you just won't see me. I'll make the phone call and say, hello, Merry Christmas. And that's it. You know, that's the least you can get from me. You know, but I mean, it just won't. I mean, hey, you know, they just won't see me
So,
because of
Ty-
it.
so I have a question for mainly for Tyra, but everybody else can chime in. So, is it appropriate to tell them why you're not coming and be truthful about it? I'm not coming because I think that the environment it causes me anxiety. I think that the family needs therapy, and until everyone can agree to do so, I just don't feel like a family gathering is a safe place for me emotionally. Is it appropriate to respond that way?
I believe that it is appropriate to respond that way, where you don't have to give a deep, detailed explanation because you don't owe anyone an explanation. But family are going to be wanting to know, okay, are you okay? You know, that out of concern, some of them, not everybody, but they'll be concerned, they'll be wondering, why are you not coming around? Are you okay? You let them know that, hey, I am okay, but mentally and emotionally, I'm just not available to attend a function, a gathering right now. You
But
Okay.
know, and
but
they may ask why. Well, why? What?
yeah,
Well, hold up. I don't understand. It's not for you to understand. You can just say it's not for you to understand. I'm just saying that at this time right here, I just don't want to. I, I'm not available to come to the gathering.
but Tyra, there's a difference between being concerned and being nosy.
Right.
So
Right.
you got the bunch over there that's okay, and it may be the two or three that's concerned,
Yeah,
but
they're very
you got the
concerned.
whole 12 disciples over here that's a bit trying to be nosy to why. But then even though they know the reason why, you still want to kind of peek your head in to be nosy a bit. But we haven't been coming for the last 5 years. So you see what I'm saying? Like, but then you
Hmm.
want to know why? It's the same answer. It's gonna be the same answer every year. So
Hmm.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, it is what it is though. If it's a no or no, it's just a no. I'm not coming. Period.
And then there's the accountability factor that comes along with it. If you are holding me accountable for wondering why I'm not coming, the accountability factor tells me that, hey, we should address this issue, or hey, we should address this, in person. Now is not the time when everybody's over there for Christmas cookies and Christmas cakes and Christmas presents to try to address the issue. Depending on who it is, it's better spoken after the fact, and they should be able to respect the fact that, hey, it's my reasons that I'm not able to, but if they are so concerned about it, they should be willing to be accountable on their end to come and see what is going on, because it may be a simple disagreement. It may be something as simple as, hey, I don't like Uncle Junebug for whatever reason. Uh, you should be willing to address those issues if you're looking at it from the family perspective. Because one thing that I've seen over the years, especially dealing with my soldiers, over the years, the family aspect is not there. And when you try to hold somebody with the family aspect, and they haven't solved the minor things in there that makes other things major, people are not going to want to be around family for those reasons. So the accountability factor has to be there if you are truly concerned about that person and why they're not
Hmm.
showing up for the holidays.
Yeah. But I will still, be mindful of who I'm going to talk to, you know, especially if I'm going to give a person a certain no. Because really, if you're going to tell somebody no, you're not coming, it's really the host, the person who hosting the gathering. That'd be the only person that I feel like you have that. because they may have been the one that invited you. You see what I'm saying? And so
Mhm.
they are the ones you would probably say no to and explain to them if you want to. But if they the type of person that don't take no for an answer and they start manipulating and start trying to, guilt trip you, then you can just hang up the phone.
Click.
That's true. Everybody is not meant to be in your circle, if I could call it. Everybody is not meant to be in your airspace, in your vibes, in how you operate. I mean, even if you want to look at it from a spiritual aspect, every devil can't come to your level, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So you just may not want to be around that atmosphere, and they should totally be understanding about that because of who you are and what you're capable of and how you deal with things. Everybody's just not meant to be in your airspace, and people should understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But then too, like when you get a certain age, me, like I'm to a point, like just give me an hour and that's it. I'm gone. I don't need to stay past a certain time, to be honest. Like I'll stay 30 to 45 minutes and then I'll be like, all right. But then if I don't want to go, I just don't want to go. But I've started putting time limits. Like I've been putting time limits on things anyway for a minute. But to go and be like, all right, hey, for 30, 45 minutes. All right, see y'all later. I'm watching the clock. I got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, different stroke, different folks. But it's interesting though, because you don't want that anxiety to be going up, especially around the holidays. So you do have to protect it at all costs.
Yeah. There's some good comments. Um, what people are saying.
Okay.
I said they agree there's a time and place, but at some point you have to discuss it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just love this. And you do have to know your limits. Just set your boundaries. Just set your
Right.
boundaries. That's all you gotta do. But what about the family after cares and people who also help you push past that when needed? That's what we were saying earlier. You can talk to them. The ones that you know that care about you. You can talk to
Mhm.
them and spend time with them. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah. I agree.
Well, I want to interject. um, when my husband and I got married in 2005, we both agreed that we would always spend Christmas at our house. We wasn't going to travel to his parents' house. We weren't going to travel to my parents' house. Now, if any of them want to come visit us during Christmas, they're more than welcome. But we wanted to be very intentional as a newly married couple and building our own family. We wanted to build our own traditions, and we want to build solid memories for our children. Now, I have a lot of good memories of Christmas growing up, but most of my memories are us on the road traveling somewhere else. I don't have many memories of me and my parents and my siblings at our own house, the five of us bonding and making memories. It was either at one of my grandmother's houses or somewhere else. So we both agreed that we wanted to be intentional about setting our building our own traditions with our children. So
That's a
I
good
think
thing.
families need to understand that, especially newlyweds, married people, you don't want to put uh, pressure or tension on them trying to decide where to go.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
It is a good point.
That is a very good point because sometimes you do have those parents that say, their son-in-law or daughter-in-law have to come to their house. Because
Every
it's a
year.
tradition. Because everybody does have tradition in their own family, you know. And if the mama or dad is saying that, hey, Christmas gonna be at our house, then that married couple will have to decide where they gonna go. You know,
Mhm.
and that, and to me, it does make you anxious.
Right.
It does. But that's a good point, Tiffany, because there were times that I just felt like I wanted to make my own tradition. But I
Yeah.
have heard people say that, you know, that they would like to do it with their own family.
Yeah.
All right. So how do you deal with anxiety physically? And you can do that by exercising. Exercise is very good for anxiety and stress. Um, and then plus it does keep things off your mind. You can also do some puzzles. You can do some hands-on things like painting, um, drawing something, or get on the computer and play solitaire or play card games. It's something physically where you can actually keep your mind occupied doing something else. As long as it's hands on, as long as it's something where you're moving your legs, you're moving your hands, you know, it's physical. I'm just saying.
No.
Because you're actually thinking about something else. Now, this is one way I have, taught my clients that when you get anxious,
Mhm.
open your hands up. Because I can barely think when I'm doing this. Just open your hands up and close them because it does have your mind thinking about your hands. I'm not. I'm sitting up here trying to think of what I'm about to say next, but my hands are moving. So it's a way of physically doing something else. Some people have fidget, something in their hands that they play along with to keep, and just fidgeting on something. A pencil. I have seen people chew pencils and pens. They be putting them in their
Mhm.
mouth, chewing on them, and that's not a good habit, y'all. I'm just gonna tell you the truth. It's not a good habit. It's really not. And it's not a good habit to go and get food either,
No.
because I know sometimes people have that oral fixation where they have to be munching on something because they're anxious.
Right.
But you don't have to do that either. Um, let's come up with some healthy ways of dealing with anxiety physically. All right, spiritually. Now, y'all know you got to balance everything. You can't just worry about your mental or your emotional or your physical. You got to balance everything because that is who we are. We are emotional beings and physical beings and spiritual. So we have to have a balance of all three. So don't sit up here and be talking about, well, I had prayed about it and I went and talked to the pastor or talked to my friend. That's not all you're supposed to do. You have to balance every aspect of your life that is spirit, soul, and body. So
Mm.
do everything, all of it, in order to have a balanced life. So these are the scriptures I have. Um, which is, of course, the favorite one is 1 Peter 5:7. Cast all your anxieties on Him because He cares for you. So of course I can. Lord, somebody said they eat all the ice.
Oh,
You just took me off guard. I had my mind on something else.
is that to deal with anxiety? Eating ice?
It's an oil fixation.
Yeah.
Some
Well,
people
I
eat
used to eat.
ice,
I used to eat ice, so I understand.
but it is
I,
also a piker. It is a
it's a
you're anemic and you might need some iron. So it's
yeah,
probably some deficit going on, but
yeah,
you know, but yeah, a lot of people do eat ice. Um, Cast all your anxieties on God because He cares for you. Always, always. I don't care what situation you're going through, what you're thinking about, what you're feeling. Always go to God and cast it on Him. I want you to understand what cast means. That means throw it at Him.
hmm,
Just like you could go to your friend and you throw all your problems at that person.
yeah.
And even though your friend may not want to hear it, they still sit there and act like they listening. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's why I want you to also go to God and cast it on Him. I want Him to be the first person that you really do cast it up to Him, because He does want you to give it to Him. But when you cast it on Him, you're throwing it at Him, and you also leaving it there. You leave it there because God is a person that comforts us. That's what the Holy Spirit is for, to comfort us, because He is a comforter. And that's why Psalms 94:19 says, because even David knew this too now. And David had a lot of anxiety. In case y'all don't know, David was very anxious, very. All you gotta do is just read the book of Psalms. You'll see. he was very anxious. 94:19 says, "In the multitude of my anxieties within me, your comfort delight my soul." That means I find comfort in God when I am anxious. And he said multitude of anxieties. Okay. So David could have been an overthinker. I believe he was an overthinker. Because when you read David's Psalm, you see a lot of what my enemy is doing, what my enemy has said, what my enemy you see a lot of it in the it's a lot of overthinking that David does. And he's human, just like we are. We do the same thing. We be looking at what other folks doing, what other people saying, what they thinking of us. David was doing the same thing. He had anxious thoughts. But even in the midst of his anxious thoughts, he also leaned on God.
Yeah.
He leaned on Him. He cast it onto Him, all his care. Those are my two favorite scriptures. I didn't want to give y'all too many because it is a lot of scriptures in the Bible about anxiety. But those are the two favorite ones of mine. All right, y'all. So I'm wrapping up anxiety. Anybody got any questions? Y'all just put them in the comment. I'll make sure I get back to them.
That's pretty good though. Yeah.
So Courtney will be talking about depression, the signs and symptoms of depression.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Good evening out there on Facebook. I'm looking at about 3 screens here, so y'all are gonna have to forgive me. So I'm looking at the comments as well as on my other 2 screens, the life of a many type of person, I guess. But good evening, everybody. Wanting to talk about depression a little bit. For all that don't know, I am in the military, and that is one of the biggest factors that leads to suicide over to the 22 a day that we deal with in the military. 22 suicides a day. That's been um, so much talked about throughout the masses, throughout the civilian population, as well as the military population. And the biggest factor is depression for whatever reasons you are going through. Coming during the holidays, I know for the soldiers, especially the low enlisted soldiers, money comes into the factors of it. A financial aspect of it causes them to be depressed, not being able to take care of their bills, not being able to have successful holidays or great holidays or things like that. So depression is rampant. And for the people that do not know, depression is real. And so, and so a lot of people don't like to address depression. A lot of people like to
Mhm.
hide behind it. A lot of people, in my opinion, when it comes to trying to address it, they would rather shy away from it. And that's one of the things that, as a good leader in the military, as well as, a good person in life, you have to watch out for those signs. And so when it comes to depression, the biggest sign that I look for, and y'all can chime in, the biggest sign that I look for most definitely is the decreased self-care.
Mhm.
That is the number one sign that I look for, because, soldiers are kept to a certain standard. And when the standard goes away, for example, shaving, for example, the way that your uniform looks. And the number one thing that I really pay attention to is a person's BO. contrary to popular belief, soldiers that soldiers do not want to take care of themselves self-care wise because they're worried about other things and they're concentrating on other things that they may be thinking about. And so when they don't take care of themselves body wise, it shows. Um, and this is, it's befitting that I talk about this because I have a soldier who's dealing with this now. Um, Good soldier just came back from a deployment. I just recently PCS'd here, but a good soldier who just came back from deployment, um, just all of a sudden just stopped taking care of himself. Uniform all dusty, uniform all dirty, uniform this, uniform that. You could look at it. You can look at his skin and tell he hadn't been lotioning his skin. You can look at him and tell he hadn't been brushing his teeth, combing his hair. He was shaggy all over the place. And I just so happened to pull the soldier aside and he just said, "Hey, sir, I'm really going through it right now. I don't know what state I'm in. I'm really down at times." And when we got down to the root of the problem, come to find out that the soldier is homeless. And for whatever reasons, I understand, as a young E5, I was that young E5, before I advanced to the officer ranks. I know the pay scale. And, he has a wife and he has 2 dogs. And, he's trying to get back on his feet, but it's just hard for him to get back on his feet. And he's had to try to pay himself out of get himself out of a lot of debt. And it's just been overwhelming to the fact that where he doesn't have a vehicle or he doesn't have his house anymore, and to the point to where he cannot even get into shelters or anything like that, for the simple fact of he doesn't want to give up his animals, his 2 dogs. And so he's been down about that, and he actually broke down in my office. And just using that as an example, to just really start paying attention to the people around you. Really start paying attention to how people move and when they start moving different. You know, um, when they start talking about suicide, soldiers talk about it all the time, and sometimes it's an attention getter, and it is an attention seeker. But we have to be cognizant of it and take every time somebody says something about suicide, we have to take that as it being serious, whether it's for attention, whether it's for fun, or whether it's for not. Because I don't know about y'all, but I just don't want to. I just don't want the quote unquote blood on my hands, knowing that I could have prevented something from that. So just to decrease self-care, talking about life in a negative way. Life is just not going well for me. I can never get right. I'm tired of folks fussing at me. I'm tired of going through the motions every day. Life just ain't worth living. Pay attention to the language that they talk. Mood swings. All of a sudden a person is just happy go lucky, and then all of a sudden the person just becomes angry all of a sudden. The person is angry. The person is just everything just agitates them. They don't, again, using experiences. I invited a soldier out for lunch that I knew that was, struggling with some issues. Soldier didn't want to go. I don't feel like doing this. I don't, a loss of interest in things. I don't feel like going out. Well, every Thursday, we go to the cigar bar or whatever. And I just really don't feel like going that way this way. Just a loss in the normal day-to-day items, laying that, getting up for work, and we're calling them doing a health and welfare check. And I'm here. I just don't feel like getting up. I just don't feel like moving. When they do get to work or when they do get into your space, they can't concentrate. It's like they're off in la la land. These are a lot of the issues. And again, I'm just using from my experiences. These are a lot of issues that, a lot of signs that can steer you towards depression, anxiety, whether they're dealing with anxiety, whether they're dealing with grief, whether they're dealing with trauma. Um, all of these things that they're dealing with can be a number one factor that can assist them to get into depression. And so you really have to be cognizant of paying attention to those signs, the mood swings, talking about life just ain't worth living. You know, you know, the concentration, the energy levels. They don't want to go out and eat. I don't feel like eating. The way that they lose weight all of a sudden. These are some of the things that I've just paid attention to over the years. And you have to be able to step in, and be like, hey, do you need any help? They're probably 9 times out of 10 going to tell you, no, I'm good. No, I'm this. But if you pay attention to them and you be that listening ear to them genuinely, people can discern genuineness versus just being nosy, like y'all said earlier. And if a person sees that you're genuine, they will open up to you. But you have to be cognizant of the signs of depression that that are there. So that's some of the biggest signs that comes with when it comes to depression. How to deal with depression. Man, I mean, it's the number one thing is to just surround that person with love. Um, Surround that person with love. I mean, that's the number one thing that people just don't give anymore. It's that love factor. Just being genuine. It's not about trying to get anything out of anybody. It's not about trying to do this. It's not about trying to do that. Just show a person that you genuinely love them, that you genuinely have their best interests at heart. I mean, if you're dealing with depression, surround yourself with loved ones, versus the Debbie Downers. Y'all just got through talking about that with them. And so, I mean, when it comes to the Debbie Downers, I mean, well, man, ain't nothing happened today, man. Man, I just can't get right or this or that. Everybody deals with anything, with all types of things, but it's up to you on how you deal with your own personal interactions, your own personal concerns and issues. Me personally, I just like to stay away from the negative stuff. You see it all the time. You see the people most definitely that are in your corner, and you see the Debbie Downers quicker than you'll see the people that's in your corner, because people sure do like to talk about the negative things. Man, life just ain't going for me, man. And people like to make a mockery of it, and people like to use it to try to gain things material wise or monetary wise or things like that. And so you really have to again use that discernment when it comes to Debbie Downers, because it could be them just using it for their own personal gain.
That's good.
Talk to a therapist. In our community, we do not like to talk to a therapist. In the military community, nobody likes to talk to a behavioral health technician, behavioral health psychologist, because it's frowned upon. And those are third parties or outside neutral parties that can give you another perspective. Because contrary to popular belief, sometimes family just may give you the perspective you may not want to hear, or they may not even know how to deal with it. Tyra can most definitely tell you, the things that she hears some of her clients say, and you're like, no, that's just not going to work, or no, it wouldn't work. Let's try things this way. Get that different perspective, because family members have always dealt with things this certain way, and this certain way worked in 1990.
And everybody don't vote.
Not work in 2020.
Come
now.
on.
Today,
Exactly.
today's generation of
2022.
people, today's person can't solve problems the same way that my grandmother, my pawpaw did, or even my mother and father did.
Exactly.
It's so many things, dealing with social media. The cost of living is high. Back then, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house cost $1,000. I'm looking at back in 1979. Me and my coworkers was talking about that. $1,000, $2,000. Whereas a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom house now, the one I'm living in here in Texas, $350,000. That's a considerably big amount of jump. And then you have to think about, and again, I'm using it from a military perspective. What about that young E5? Or what about that young family who has 5, 6, 7 kids? What are you going to do about that? Because those are the issues that I deal with. kids being the factor. Kids are very expensive these days. Kids want the latest and the greatest. Whereas we grew up, it was the simple things for us to grow up. Now, kids these days, they require a little bit more, and it's a little bit more financial. That's why it's very important you be careful about who you get with, and it's very important who you be careful who you lay down with. I know that's not the topic, but I could talk about that all day long because that's the number one thing I have dealt with over the years. It's just the fact that people do not be careful with who they let in their circle. And people have that quick trigger of an eye and quick trigger decision. And now you got to think about it 21 years later. And you got 21 years to think about the decision that you made, essentially 18 to 21 years, depending on how you balance things out and how you make things work. But talk about your issues openly to an outside party. Don't be afraid to go to the elders, the people who've been successfully married for 40, 50, 60 years. That's one of the things I miss about my grandparents. May they continue to rest in peace, is that I always went to them, as a young military guy when I was enlisted. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with that? And they was like, this is how you deal with things. Those are the timeless classics that, even though the times have changed, they have made it work through many times, through many changes, and they are still successful. So find the people that make things work when it comes to depression. Um, uh, the biggest thing that comes to depression: alcohol, marijuana, drugs. It's easy to get into those when you're dealing with depression, but it's very hard to get out of. Stay away from those downers. Alcohol is a downer, marijuana is a downer. Yeah, it's an up and a downer, for people that know about it, but it's more so of a downer. Miss Cynthia said a 3-bedroom, 2-bath is for $700.
It's
Yes,
called self-medicating.
right.
Yeah.
So self-medication, though they do not work, and that's one of the things that you have to address with the therapist. It is many folks that when I was in command, 13 to be specific, that were dealing with something, and I had to let them go out of the military, for the specific fact that drugs was involved. And they were great soldiers. They was just between a rock and a hard place, and they just didn't have anything else to turn to except drugs. So talk to the therapist, about helping you to get off the drugs, because self-medication, it is only, excuse me, it is only going to destroy you in the long run. Um, Practice resilience. In the military, what we call resilience is hunting the good stuff. Find all the things that you do have going well for you. The iceberg, we call them icebergs in the military. Whatever the icebergs is, we find something to counter that iceberg, to crush that iceberg, so that ship can go straight through and continue to sail on. So in other words, find the good things that you have going great for you, because 9 times out of 10 you're only depressed because of one issue or one item, and it may be compounding factors to it, but it's 9 times out of 10 depression is for one or one or two reasons that can easily be handled if you just get a grasp of them. But in order to get a grasp of them, we have to make sure that we compare the good with the bad. It's not always going to be financial issues, if you learn how to budget your money the right way. And, it's not always going to be, we can't take care of the kids if we talk to a therapist and talk to people on how to better take care of the kids, sacrifice ourselves for the kids, do this, do that, and just using those as an example. Um, Hunt the good stuff. Find out what the resilient part of you is, and find out the great things in your resilience, and use that to face your issues head on. People don't like to face the issues head on, and You will never get over depression. And again, I'm just talking about depression. You will never get over depression if you don't face those issues head on. It's tough. It hurts. I've had to help some soldiers face the facts, and it hurts and it breaks them down. But once you get
Mm-hmm.
broken down, you only have up to go, and that's the only other way that you have to go is up. So face those issues head on. That is the only way that you'll be able to get over it. Why are you in a financial state? Why are you having problems with your spouse or your kids or anything? Why is work not working for you? Why are bad things happening to you all the time and you can't figure it out? It is ways to identify the small minute issues that have built up to a major issue. And once you tackle one thing and tackle another part of it and tackle another part of it, the issue is gone. And so that's the number one thing we have to do when we're depressed is face the issue head on. And take time for yourself. Um, every day when I get off work, at least I try to. Every day when I get off work, I try to spend at least an hour on the patio. I've always done it, especially when I commission as an officer because the flow got a little bit more tedious and more stringent, if that's what you want to call it. But take time for yourself, whether it's at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, and during lunchtime or whatever. Take time for yourself and separate yourself from things and distractions. When I go out on my patio every day, I don't take my phone. When I go out on my patio every day, I may take my iPad, but I have it over there and I'm listening to music. And I mean, and I just sit there and I just listen and let's look at nature and look at my backyard and or look at people and see what's going on. Take time away from the distractions and use that time to self-reflect. Use that time to better yourself when it comes to dealing with depression. I've come to find out over the years, just taking an hour every day or even 30 minutes to myself, it will lighten your mood so much more better. Put the phone down, leave the phone in the house, leave the iPad in the house, leave all the distracting things in the house because guess what? The people are going to be there. Facebook is going to be there. Social media is going to be there. But your time that you have, time is precious. And so you have
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that you take good care of your time. And so if you use your time wisely to self-reflect, and even if you want to look at it from a spiritual perspective, use that time to just talk with God, you will be amazed after that hour of how you come back just feeling better. Or you'll be amazed a lot of the times where I just sit there. I mean, here comes the ideas that I could not think of, and here comes the solutions to whatever I'm dealing with that I could not think of because I had all of the distractions over here. I was thinking about work. I was thinking about tomorrow. I was thinking about next week. I was thinking about what
Mm-hmm.
my family got going on. I was thinking about what I got going on. Will I get gas in the morning? Do I feel like cooking? Man, I don't feel like ironing. Man, it's a whole bunch of eyes in there. And once you take time to put yourself away from it, here comes the solutions and here come the answers to your questions. So when dealing with depression, just take time for yourself. Take time for yourself. Stay away from antidepressants. What I find it very funny that even in the behavioral health, and even when a lot of my soldiers going to the medical clinics for whatever reasons, the number one thing that the doctor gives them is antidepressants. We want to put you on this. We want to put you on that. And even though it's an antidepressant, you know what these medications do these days. These medications have more side effects than they do help. And so just be cognizant of the medications that you take, especially with dealing with depression. It should be something, yes, to help you deal with it. However, just be cognizant of the medications that you take because too many medications with the complications and the issues that every piece of medicine have that can compound to what you're already thinking about, and that can compound your depression to be more than what it is. And the number one thing that I need to do a better job of, but one thing that I've found out that works for which has a couple of my soldiers have come back, is, they changed their sleep routine. Go to bed. I mean, that's something I have to do a better job of. But go to bed. Prepare yourself to go to bed an hour earlier, than what you normally do. Um, when you go to bed, don't go to bed with the TV on with SpongeBob on. Put on some therapeutic music, or put on, the sleep music, or the listening music, or classical or jazz music or gospel music or something that's positive. And you will be amazed, and Tyra can speak to this. You will be amazed at what goes into you while you're asleep at night, and you wake up so much more positive. So just, that's one thing that when I do get the opportunity to sleep, I just try, I try to at least go to bed with the soft sounds of the water going, in the background. But most definitely, the average person, in doing our studies, get anywhere between 4 to 6 hours of sleep at night. That's nowhere near healthy. And I'm guilty of it. I mean, as you can see, these bags under my eyes, but I'm I'm guilty of it. For whether I'm DJing, or whether I'm working on something for work, or just up for no reason. I mean, we have to do a better job of maintaining our sleep, because sleep is very important to dealing with self-depression. I mean, dealing with depression. My apologies. And the way that you deal with depression spiritually, surround yourself with people who pray. Surround yourself with people who pray, and surround yourself with people who praise. So many churches do not talk about praise enough, and so many churches don't talk in depth when they do about praise. And all praise is the weapon of the enemy. Praise is this, praise is that. Yes, we got that. But when you teach us how to pray and praise, because it is a difference, surround yourself with people who know how to pray and praise, and take some of those things and implement them. Prayer is your prayer language. One thing that we have to understand is that God already knows. We have to understand that God already knows. He's just waiting for us to communicate with him, so that he can be like, all right, you done came to me. All right, let me go ahead and take care of this. God knows everything that's going on from the past to the present to now. He knows already. So, once you talk to God about it, then you use the instrument of praise to thank God about it. Again, that correlation between praying, which is just your language to God, just like we're talking. And again, that's just my own self revelation, to praising God. That is the number one effective way to get God to come in and take care of whatever is going on. And contrarily to popular belief, dealing on a spiritual level, you may be going through something, but take the time out to bless others. Um, so many times when I have just bought somebody's lunch, or when I have paid somebody's bill, or when I have this, or when I have that for a person, the blessings come back. And when you be a blessing to others, that opens up the door for God to come in and intervene on anything that you're dealing with, especially with depression. So when it be a blessing. Look for somebody to bless, whether it's a $5 biggie bag at Wendy's, or hey, here go $10 towards gas. Yes, you are going through it, but you will be amazed that when you bless somebody else, how that even lightens your mood, and how that makes your mood better. And so just be a blessing to others. Surround yourself with people who are spiritually in tune, who know how to pray, and who know how to praise their way through a situation. Debbie Downers don't pray. Debbie Downers don't go to church because they're like, the world is against me. Surround yourself with people that that can get a prayer through. And so that's how I would deal with depression spiritually. Some Bible verses before I wrap up, and for any questions, but the Bible verses that the number one Bible verse that I use all the time is Isaiah 41:10, which says, "Fear not, for I'm with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you." I've stood upon that verse. I write that verse. I put it in my boots. I stand upon the word. For the folks who really know what standing upon the word is. But again, I'm not trying to get too deep for some of the people. But that is something that I stand upon, because he knows already. All I gotta do is just cast my cares, as First Peter says, upon him, and he's gonna strengthen me. Isaiah 40:31, but those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up their wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary and not faint. You know, those are the two that most definitely come to mind. And so, find a Bible verse that works for you. It's so many Bible verses that deal with all things. And so, anything from safety to anxiety to grief, it's plenty of Bible verses in there. But again, that's where you surround yourself with those spiritually minded people, and people who know the Bible and people who live the Bible. Because when we're going through some, we don't think about the Bible. The times that I may be dealing with some, I don't think about Isaiah 41:10, and I don't think about, well, all I think about is, Lord, how am I gonna get out of this? Because Lord, I'm doing this, Lord, I'm doing that, Lord, how am I gonna get out of this? Then when I, talk with iron and let iron sharpen iron, as it's supposed to do, that's when people can pour back into you. And so, always find somebody to pour back into you. And then when you're filled up, find somebody else to pour back into. But those are some of the things to deal with when it comes to depression. Most definitely, watch how you take care of yourself, dealing with self-care. Watch the mood swings, watch how they change their language. Take time out for yourself to deal with depression. Stay away from the Debbie Downers, stay away from the drugs, exercise, but most definitely face the depression issue head on. Face it. That's the only way you're gonna get over it. Face it. And so, but even when facing it, surround yourself with people who know how to pray, and surround yourself with people who know how to praise. And surround yourself. You should be surrounding yourself with people that I'm not gonna say are better than you, but you should surround yourself with people you can learn from. And if you're not surrounding yourself with people you can learn anything from, then there's a problem. And you won't know how to fix those issues because you think you know it all. I don't know it all. And I've been in the military for 23 years, and I still don't know how the military operates fully. But I know enough to be dangerous. And so surround yourself with people, surround yourself with mentors, surround yourself with positive people. Even if it's friends that you've been friends with for 30 years and they're Debbie Downers, let them go. Create that room to bring in somebody else for a positive environment. Don't be afraid to let people go. Don't, because y'all have been this and been that, don't be afraid to let family members go. It's all about your positivity. It's all about how you go through life, and the goal in life is to study climb. And if you're not surrounding yourself with people that are helping you to climb, you got to let them go. And so I think that may be it. I think I probably hit all points, Tyra. If I didn't, let me know. But any questions?
You just kept going and going and going and but I want to hit on something that I made a mental note that what you said is, dealing with the elders. I was like, I can't interrupt CG at all. But
you could have stopped me.
No, not at this moment. You was in the moment. But I want to go back into I think it was 15, back at about 12 minutes run, when you said talking about the elders and all that stuff. But basically what worked back in their days does not work for us now. However, because I live with an elder, he speaks much wisdom, and he speaks a lot of wisdom, and he can still compared to, but what he'll do is he'll pull back from a long time ago and compare it up until now. But what I'm saying is what didn't work for us back in 1980, of course, is not going to work for us now, because the methods of life and everything has changed. I think that's back at 12 minutes or something like that. I don't know which point.
And that's true. I mean, you are right. We hit the nail on the dot with that, but you just hit the key word. They give nuggets of wisdom.
Yeah.
And in that point of getting that wisdom, then you can use those nuggets that you got from them, because the key goal is to figure it out. Right. But the key goal is to go with somebody with experience and to pull something from that experience that they have had to use for your situation. I mean, of course, I can't go out here and just prime up a car like I used to. Now I got to look at the electrical panels, this and that. I just can't go up under the car and just change the oil like we did back then. Now I got to go this way, that way, this way to change the oil, and just using it as a loose example. But it is a way to do it without hurting ourselves or getting ourselves too dirty. And I think that's what we need to look for when we're talking with the elders. It's just those nuggets that they're throwing out there. And so when they throw those nuggets out there, we have to be cognizant of what they're saying and make it and make it and shape it into what we're dealing with.
Right. I mean, most definitely, I agree. And then too, to say that, I mean, even with the vehicle, the traits of what, I mean, honestly, this might be off kilter a bit, but I was pretty much raised to learn a vehicle, so to say. So therefore, I know a vehicle. So of course, with the old ones versus the new ones, there is a big difference for today. And honestly, I can't put a battery in. I'll just have to take it to Nissan. So, it is what it is. But just the difference in learning that it was sitting under his feet, I'll just say like that, was sitting under the feet of an elder. There's just so much that they have to say, even in this time. But like you said, I agree to pull those nuggets, from what he's saying.
Oh, most definitely. Most definitely.
All right.
Good punch, Courtney.
Mm-hmm.
He did that research. That sounds like a celebrate.
That sounds like a whole bunch of experience.
It almost sounds like it's time. It almost sounds like it's time to conclude.
CG just had it. Go on, CG.
I'm sorry.
That's some good punch, though.
You can discipline me after the fact. I didn't mean to keep running.
You probably had to say all that, because people do need many options. So you can pick one, pick 2 or 3 or whatever. But I was going to add on that as far as those scriptures, I also look at those Bible stories, because Elijah and David and Job, and who else? Because there's some people in the Bible that was dealing with depression and suicide. So Judah, Samson, we can learn from some of these people in the Bible, of what not to do as well as what to do. But it's good to also read those. Which I really do believe that we're supposed to be reading the Bible from a psychological standpoint anyway. So read up on David and Elijah and see how the way they treated their depression, and and glean from it and learn from it.
Even Paul, I read the New Testament where Paul came, and especially over there in Corinthians. I mean, I'm just a firm believer Paul just went through it all, and so even when he was talking about the thorn in his side, I'm a big proponent of Paul, because I really do believe he went through everything that we're talking about: depression, anxiety, trauma, so Paul is the one that I always read about, because he just went through it all.
Yeah. So let's go on to Miss Tiffany. Come on down. Let's play the
Okay.
Price is Right.
My subject matter tonight is trauma triggers. And before I get started, I'm going to start out with my scripture that got me through my trauma triggers. And that's Philippians 4:8. And it reads, "Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things." Now, many people hear the word trigger, and trigger can have different meanings. Of course, most people, when you say the word trigger, they think about the trigger on a gun. But in the psychological or emotional realm, a trigger can be a person, a place, a thing, a situation. It could be a sound, like someone yelling. Those are things that could be triggers to people. So we need to be cognizant of, I know I have a lot of patients that are veterans, and certain times of the year, you can't make a loud sound because it's going to jar them. They're going to be triggered by that loud noise. You can't come in talking too loud. You have to be very intentional about calling them when you pull up and say, "Hey, this is your nurse. I'm outside." Don't just walk up to their door and knock, because it triggers them. So a trigger can be a sound, a person, a place, a thing, a situation, or a location. Okay. Now, and we're talking about trauma triggers, which are the same thing as emotional triggers. Some of these symptoms of emotional triggers, and I'm speaking from experience because I went through a traumatic event in 2008, and it happened right before Thanksgiving. So I'm coming up on my season of trauma triggers. So some of the symptoms of trauma triggers can be sadness, anxiety, depression, agitation, withdrawal. You kind of withdraw from people. You don't really want to go around people. Those are some of the main symptoms that you can look for when someone is being triggered. Okay. Now, one of the ways that we should deal with trauma triggers physically is, of course, what Tyra and Courtney said, is exercise. But my main way of dealing with my triggers is prayer. Prayer, fasting, worship, studying my word. Because if you lean into that word, if you lean into the word of God, it helps you get through that, whatever you're feeling or whatever you're thinking, because it helps you center yourself, or center your thinking and get your thought process where it needs to be. And so the main key factor, in my opinion, is, first of all, relying on God to get you through. And the way you do that is through fasting, praying, worshiping, going to church, assembling with other believers that can help encourage and strengthening you, and studying the word of God. Physically, another physical aspect of getting through trauma triggers is, of course, exercise, self-care, taking a vacation, going to get a massage, hanging out, maybe having brunch with a group of friends, and that all falls into a support system. If you don't build a good support system, it's going to be hard for you to get through your triggers. I heard a preacher say, he who is to heal the leper must not be one himself. So that means, how can you heal someone and you going and putting a thermometer in their mouth and you need one in your mouth because you running a fever too. You sick too. So we use that analogy in my line of work as a nurse. Don't come to work sick. If you running a fever, if you got a cough, stay at home. Because what we do is we care for the sick, and you can't care for the sick if you are sick. So if you know that a person is having a hard time dealing with an emotional trauma, or they're having a hard time learning how to deal with triggers, if you are if you have recently dealt with a traumatic event and you are not healed yourself, my recommendation is to not try to help that person. Try to refer them to somebody that can. When I say support system, my support system is a group of people that have been through what I went through, and they've navigated through it with the help of God, and they know how to minister to me to help me heal. So that's who you want to surround yourself with. You don't want to surround yourself with a bunch of people that's going to sit there and sulk and break down with you. And you need some strength, because they need to show you how to come out of this hole, or how to move forward and deal with these triggers in the future. Another way that we can physically deal with our triggers is creating new memories. And this is true. Like, let's say the traumatic event happened at a certain location. Well, you know what? Next holiday, we don't need to go back to that location. If you had a terrible traumatic memory or event at that location, you don't need to go back to that location. You need to create a new memory, create a new tradition, and let's go somewhere new. Let's travel somewhere new this year. Let's make new memories. Let's laugh. Let's, be happy. Because a lot of times, and going back to what Tyra was talking about, family gatherings, a lot of times that may be the reason people don't go to family gatherings, because something traumatic could have been said or done to them at a family gathering when they were a child, and they may have suppressed it for years, and then they might have heard a song, or they might have saw something that triggered that memory, and it's so traumatic they just can't go. They're just not healed enough to be exposed to that trigger at this point in their healing process. We already talked about this, setting boundaries, and you have a choice. It's your life. You have the choice whether to go or whether not to go. You're not obligated to go anywhere that you don't feel emotionally safe, and you're not obligated to give anyone an explanation. You must know what your triggers are, and you must recognize them. And we all talked about this. Self-care is the best care. Self-care, soul care, spirit care, you can't beat that. I think if you start with your spirit first, your soul, getting that healed, everything else will fall in place. That's pretty much all I have. If y'all have any questions, I can answer them.
It especially and you made a great point about some of the triggers throughout the year when it comes to veterans, and that's for anybody. When we are cognizant of that person's triggers, we have to really make sure that we take great care in trying to prevent those triggers from them being exposed to the triggers. Whereas, hey, and I use the 4th of July for an example. If you know that that person um is triggered by fireworks, you should know that you don't need to be trying to take them to a fireworks show. And
Right.
that's just using that as an example all the way around. Whatever triggers a person, you really have to take great care in understanding what triggers that person and to keep them away from what's going on. So I thought that was a great
Mhm.
point.
When and I'll be transparent, 2008, I had a second trimester miscarriage, and I had to deliver this child knowing that it didn't have he knowing that he didn't have a heartbeat, but he was fully developed. And it happened 5 days before Thanksgiving. And then 7 days after I lost him, I lost my godmother who helped raise me. So my close friends knew what my triggers were. I couldn't be around babies, especially boy babies. Well, I could be around them, but like if I was in the grocery store and I heard a baby cry, I had to just leave the cart where it is and go get in the car. You know, that was at that time in my life. It's not a trigger now because I've uh, done my self work, and with the help of God, and I'm healed now. But when it was fresh, hearing a baby cry was a trigger for me. Uh, I had friends that had babies. Right after that, going to baby showers was a trigger. I would make it through the event, but as soon as I got home, I would cry for hours. Okay. Um, I know losing my godmother, a trigger was scrolling through my phone and like, oh, well, I'm going to call Granny today. And then, having to remember that I can't. That was a trigger. So loss and grief is a big thing during the holidays because you have to think about that, especially if it happens close to Thanksgiving or close to Christmas or any holiday. That's something you got to live with for the rest of your life. You forever have that memory. But what I have done for Thanksgiving, that is a festive time for me and my husband and children. We remember my baby that I lost. We think happy thoughts. We pray. We cook dinner. We make it a happy time instead of uh, sitting in that grief.
Yeah.
So it's important to have a support system that knows what your triggers are, because if they're really down for you, and they know that you finna walk into a trigger, they gonna, oh, hey, let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
We don't need to go there.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. All right, Miss Candy.
Last but certainly not least, the last of the last. So,
Woo.
first of all, I hope you all are enjoying this live on tonight. It's been very informative. But my topic is grief, and I am about to speak from experience as well because I'm grieving now. So, and I can just be transparent that this time of the month, the year from October to February, actually April, to be honest, March, April, yeah, it's pretty interesting for me. But the signs of grief is denial is number one, anger, bargaining as guilt, depression, and acceptance. And those are just a few signs. Well, those are the five, actually, there are five stages of grief that we go through. And I can't say that I have experienced all of them. And even when it comes to a loss of a loved one, that's not, I can agree with what everybody has said that there are certain things, there are certain times, certain things actually that you need to say to people that are grieving. I've experienced a lot. I can't say from this part that I remember when, during the course of the early stages of when my mom passed. I heard stuff like, oh, just move on, oh, get over it, and I'm not gonna lie, I said a few choice words back at them. Because of the simple fact is, if you've never walked a mile in my shoes, you'll never understand. So that's the choice words, sorry y'all, because I'm human, and the certain things do trigger me. I am triggered. There's certain things that are said that will be triggered. However, I just feel like we have to be careful what we say to people, to those to people who are grieving the loss of someone to them, closest to them.
Yeah.
How do we deal with the emotionally and mentally? I've learned to journal how I feel, and what broke the box for me was communicating and talking about it. And I'm grateful for a tribe, which I call my friends around me, my circle, a tribe of people that I do have around me to talk to about it. So, and especially during the holiday seasons, that's probably the best time to check on those who are grieving during that time. So, most definitely journal, and emotionally, I can't say that there's no time limit to grieving. We can't put a time limit on it. We can't say, okay, it'll be over in 3 years, because honestly, when you lose someone closest to you, there's no time limit to it. Now, I can say that even though I've walked through all the five stages, most of the times when I got in a funk, I did what I needed to do. But of course, I exercised, and I was, I got to the place of walking things out. How do I deal with it spiritually? No, well, actually, let me go back to physically. So, how do we deal with grief physically? Exercise, plan a distraction, start a new tradition, uh, allow yourself to feel the range of the emotions. And I most definitely can agree with that, because emotionally, going through grief, you do have to deal with the emotions of grieving the loss of the loved one. My dad, we actually started a new tradition, but this was before she even passed. But we just really started watching. Well, actually, we watched the Ole Miss and Mississippi State game. So I mean, that's just
every Thursday,
every Thanksgiving.
Mm.
Like there's, like we have really just got to the place of creating traditions. Like if he don't create it, I'm gonna think of it. So I mean, this is just a building that tradition, within ourselves. So there's a lot that we do to try to find find a distraction, and to keep from to just move forward. And honestly, Tyra can attest to this. I work out on holidays. Like I don't miss the moments of taking that time out for myself. So I still exercise Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year. That's been going on for years. So I pretty much made that, it's a part of the lifestyle. So I do get that time in, and that helps out a whole lot. The scriptures that I have for this. So how do I deal with it spiritually is Psalms 34:18. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. So that scripture has been support. You know, we've quoted Psalms the whole night basically. So that has been a touched one for me. So, but of course, I can say to people who are grieving, who are in the season of grief, to grieve accordingly. I made that status a lot because you have to grieve on your own time. So, and it's nonstop. But like I said, I'm grateful for a group of friends who's on the live with me tonight that I can just blow up phones and call and just crash if I need to. You know, so you have to have that good circle of support of people to be there for you, you know, during that time and to block out negativity for sure. So grief is a process. It most definitely it is a process. So I did it as so, you know, I was just as quick as I need to be, but I did what I needed to say.
I just want to add one thing, that don't be afraid to grieve, because I know that we are taught to be strong and be ready to do what we got to do when we got to do it. But we'll get so caught up in doing something and keeping our mind occupied that we don't even take the time to grieve. So I wanted to say, don't be afraid, but also don't be ashamed to grieve, because to grieve is nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And sometimes people do be feeling shame when they're grieving. Don't do that, because when David was grieving, David did not eat. He did not socialize. He did not take a bath. That man ripped his clothes. And it took him however long it took him to get back to where he was ready to go eat. Well, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
And and I was like, Lord, that's really what you call grief, you know, grieving over something. Because I know how some people do tend to sleep or cry or yell or screaming through the house, or either throwing stuff. You have to feel it. You have to let it all out. You do have to grieve. You do have to do that, because grief is a physical act. I know how some people be thinking grief is just, you know, emotional. No, it's a physical act, baby, because you are hurting painfully, number one, emotionally, because that person is not there anymore and you're hurt. And so, but also physically, they're not there either. So you really are tackling two aspects of your life, physically and emotionally, as well as mentally. So don't be ashamed. Don't be so conscious about, well, how come I can't get myself back together? Don't be so hard on yourself waiting to get back to where you were, because you're never going to be back where you were. Your chapter has changed, or you have took a transition now. You're never going to be back at that status that you were when you were with that person. You see what I'm saying? So don't be trying to get back there. What you're supposed to be doing is going forward and thriving through it. But some people be they be concerned about, you know, why is it taking me so long to get myself together? Don't ask that question.
Yeah,
don't ask that question. I'm talking about the person, the individual. I'm talking about the individual who is grieving, because sometimes, you know, I know this because sometimes clients be saying that, you know, it's not good to ask that question as why I can't get back there, because it's like you be in a hurry to get there. You don't have to be in a hurry. Grief is nothing to be. It's not a marathon. It's not even a sprint.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's literally a process, just like Candace said. You know, give yourself grace. Don't be so hard on yourself. Don't be shamed. Don't be afraid. You just go through it, because that's the way out anyway. You're going to have to go through it. And if people don't like it, baby, tell me go home.
And that ain't what I really want to do. But look, Tyra, I think too, for the most part, like every topic that we have tonight, we wear it with a smile. So think about it. We wear depression with a smile. We carry our trauma triggers with a smile. Grief. Every day I'm smiling, but behind closed doors, I think the only people that can tap into how I really feel is folks that's closest to me. But to go in the gym smiling, hit the grocery store smiling. One thing I can say is I'm not saying that I hadn't ran away from people, but I thank God for online shopping. I appreciate it. I don't have to see people. I don't have to deal with the folks. Like I can now. I done picked up delivery grocery where these folk can drop the groceries off at the door. So like it's just, you know, I don't have anything against people, but I'm an introvert, extrovert. So
I thank God for COVID. COVID helped me. It helped me. It gave me a reason to say I'm not coming.
Yeah, I'm not coming. I can't do it. No. Yeah. But it is like because we don't have to put up, like we ain't gotta do it. You really do not. You really don't have to do it. Like this just because now when I go in the grocery store, it's like, oh, do I have to hear these folks ask about my daddy? But I understand he's a TikTok sensation, he's a Facebook sensation, he's a notable person in the community. But can you ask about me sometimes? Like I'm not knocking the fact, but can you ask me how I'm doing? Well, how your daddy doing? This first thing, how your daddy doing? He's doing good. Because I'm not gonna tell him all the information, first of all. But what I'm gonna say, yeah, he is doing good. But can you ask about me while I'm sitting here carrying all this detergent out and all that? But you know, I walk in the store upright anyway. But I only go to the grocery store probably once or twice a month. Because everything else I do it online. I see the same people every time I go to Walmart. They know me. Hey, Miss Candace. But what I'm saying is we wear a whole lot of it. Of what we talking about tonight, we wear it with a smile. Every time. That smile gonna get it. That smile pulled me out that ticket. I'm just saying. we just wear it. We wear it with a smile. I'm being honest on tonight. I'm just saying. But honestly, you gotta have some real discernment to tap into it. To be honest. You're not gonna know nothing is wrong with me because you see me smiling all the time. In other words, it is a cover up, but I'm gonna smile regardless. I'm a smile, period. Yeah. But you gonna we smile behind.
But you know what, Candy? Don't be a folk.
The real folk.
Folk, they gonna know you're fake. Go to smile on your face. You know darn well you ain't smiling. Yeah. You know darn what you feeling.
And that's the truth. That's the truth. Everybody is not prepared. Everybody is not sanctioned. Everybody is not ordained, however you want to do it. Everybody is not prepared to see that side of a person. Even if we want to call it the vulnerable side of a person. And so and you're right, that smile holds a lot. And people ask me why I always smile, and I just come out and tell them, so you won't know how I really feel. And so I mean, I say that all of the time because if I go and tell them what I'm dealing with, are they gonna help me, or are they gonna go talk about me? If I tell them what I'm going through, is it going to be any solutions, or is it going to be more issues behind the fact that I said it? So, we really have to, we do it to keep away the people who are not going to help us. I mean, it's people out there that we have in our corners, and yes, we can be vulnerable too, if that's what we want to call it. We can be vulnerable too, but everybody that asks, hey, what's going on with you? You can't tell them, hey, I stumped my toe on the bed this morning and it didn't feel good, because they will not do what it need. You do what is needed to make sure that you don't stump your toe again. Number one, but number two, that you feel better after the fact.
Right. Yeah, and I don't mind having a problem dodging people. That's one reason why I do online shopping, and I don't because I don't want to. It's okay. I mean, but I'm still a people person. I'm a people person when I need to be. But y'all ain't finna be asking me all these questions and making statements, assuming. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now this is good, y'all.
it really is.
I love y'all, but it's my bedtime.
That's right. Yeah, well, guys, it look like it's Tiffany bedtime too.
Mhm.
So,
I
See,
love
he just
y'all.
killing.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's time to depart from the Mount of Olives now.
It is. Well, we ending on tonight.
Oh,
Thank you all. We end.
just
Oh,
looking at the
okay,
comment.
okay.
And she said, I'm not in the mood and don't feel like smiling right now. Girl, if you don't feel like smiling, you ain't got to,
Yeah,
honey.
you ain't gotta smile.
No,
Nah,
nope, not at all. You're
you
not.
ain't gotta smile,
They're
baby.
not obligated to be. To like I said, they're not obligated to see that vulnerable side of you, and if it causes you extraness, as I call it, in trying to cover up, it's okay to be transparent.
Mm-hmm.
That just means, hey, you're here right now. You're dealing with whatever you're dealing with right now in this moment, but in all of this depression, trauma, anxiety, grief, understand that this time is temporary. I mean, it's we all have a purpose here on this earth, and for whatever reasons and whatever we're designed to do. But understand that times of trouble is temporary because we all have that purpose that we have to carry on this earth.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. With
I
the
totally
strength
agree.
of the Lord.
Yes.
Yes,
Exclamation
Amen.
point.
Exclamation point.
another one because he's sure doing it.
Yeah.
It was look. That's what I can say. It was the Lord in my preacher's voice. It was the Lord
And always
who
remember,
kept me.
no is a response. No response is a response.
Right.
Amen.
No is a
Yeah.
response, and no
Right.
response is a response.
Oh,
Amen.
that's
Period.
good. Period.
Exclamation point.
Period. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Absolutely. So y'all, it is 8:53, and I do before we leave. Can I just do a slight introduction? First of all, thank you all for joining the live tonight. But to those that are still on the live, you're actually looking at the board. I've been so excited, y'all. I've been waiting to say that for the longest. I actually made a post, but I was like, no, I ain't gonna post it. Just trying to find another way. But guys, you're looking at the team behind me. So this is the team of the Because It's Necessary team. They rolling with me publicly and privately. So I thank God for y'all, and I'm grateful that you guys are a part of my team, and I'm glad that it was the Lord who brought us together for real. So, oh, Megan said, "Come on, board member." Yeah. So I just want to introduce you guys publicly. So you will be seeing these faces a lot, around and
Hey
everything
y'all.
and all that great stuff. So, hey, meet the board. So some of you already know us, and some, everybody, but just get used to seeing them around. So, but that's it. So thank you all for joining on tonight. Get some rest. Make sure you get 8 hours of sleep. That means y'all
See,
need to go.
it's easy for CG to say that because he not a caregiver. He not married. He don't have no kids.
Nothing. Look at
It's
CJ.
easy to get 8 hours when it's just you.
I don't get 8 hours because I got work to prepare for. Also DJ on the side.
CJ, like what?
I stay up all the time. Yeah,
I'm just messing with you.
I mean, I can
Mm-hmm.
find some kids to take care of if it'll help you
Mm-hmm.
rent some kids or something.
Did you say rent? Megan said,
Yeah. I might put in there yet. Mm.
Oh Lord, y'all better speak that thing. Oh Jesus.
Mm.
Oh,
my
Yeah.
God.
oh.
As soon as we get off here, I'm going into mommy mode.
All right, Claire. I'm going back in
I'm
caregiver
sorry,
mode.
baby. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
I ain't going to bed. I'm gonna be up. So
I'm sorry. I love my 8 hours. I
I
need
love
my
my
8
8
hours.
hours too. Yeah.
I
But
be up at
honestly,
5 o'clock in the morning.
my phone goes to sleep. My phone goes to sleep at 8 o'clock. So it seems like when my phone goes to sleep, my body shut down too. Like at the same time that my phone go to sleep. That's pretty interesting.
That's good.
Anywho,
Yes,
well,
anywho. Good night,
anyway,
y'all. Have a wonderful evening.
y'all
Make
have a good night.
what that song
Have a
say?
good
Just
night,
don't let
y'all.
the bed bugs bite. Y'all have a good
Yeah,
one.
Okay.
we'll
Bye
see
bye.
Bye
y'all
bye.
on the next go round. All right, bye.